Please welcome the man who's been the host of The Nature of Things for the last 30 years, an inspiration, a true national treasure, Mr. Dr. David Suzuki.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming here today. We have to regard this as an extraordinary event. You know, we're in a profession where the new hot series are introduced every year with all of the fanfare. And over 90% of them, of course, will end up being discarded by the end of the year. So The Nature of Things surely must be regarded as the ultimate survivor series. And we're talking survival of the fittest. And I think it's the best reality show there can possibly be. It's been great that the series has continued to be renewed year after year by our bosses, the brass. But I know absolutely that the show would have been dumped a long time ago if people hadn't taken the series into their homes and made it a part of their lives. So today I'd like to really thank Canadians who've made the series what it has been and supported it in numbers to keep us on the air. When I became involved with The Nature of Things, it was already an established series with an incredible record of awards and recognition as a groundbreaking series. In the 50th anniversary show, you just saw a part of it. It played last week. There was a segment with John Livingston, he may have been the first or the second executive producers, and looking at that, you realize how far away ahead of the rest of society Livingston was, and he stayed that way all along, and he imbued in the series, through the people that followed him, that sense of understanding of the importance of nature. The name, I think, was given by Lister Sinclair. Is that right? Yeah. And he was an executive producer of the series in the early years. And of course, Pat, Don, what can I say? I mean, I'm so thrilled that you're still here 50 years later. And for me, they broke new ground, because here were two university professors, two scientists, who were able to let their hair down and actually crack a few jokes and make physics fun. It was truly an extraordinary, groundbreaking, I think, on the part of you, and I thank you very much for taking that time out of academia. But it was Jim Murray who produced and executive produced the series for some 35 years, who was the guiding force behind the series when I joined it. Nancy Archibald, his partner, had executive produced the show, I think, for 5 years while Jim was doing Science Magazine. But he then came back, and after he retired, then Michael Alder, please stand, Michael, took it on for 14 years. Thank you. I know a lot of you have heard this story, but to me it's a very important lesson that Jim Murray taught me. Actually, this occurred when I was still doing Science Magazine with him. Now, you got to remember, I was a hotshot scientist in those days. I was a geneticist. And this stuff of making films I found very, very difficult and boring. And we were down in New Orleans shooting, and they set me up on a stool, and I was sitting there, and the lighting man came in and took a long time setting up the lights, and of course you have to adjust the background. The sound man came in and mic'd me up, and then the camera system came in, set up the camera. Finally, Rudy Kovacic, the cameraman, came in, and Rudy had this incredible habit of taking a light meter reading and then going back to the camera and adjusting the focus, coming back not once or twice, but 6 or 7 times. Nothing had changed, and he was doing this thing. And finally I said, for Christ's sake, Rudy, shoot the goddamn thing. And Jim Murray grabbed my arm and pulled me into a side room so I wouldn't be humiliated in front of the crew, and he said to me, listen, Suzuki, every one of those guys is busting their ass to make you look good, and that's not easy. And I kind of crept back into the room, and that was for me a very, very important lesson. Dozens and dozens of people spend a huge amount of time and effort to make the programs what they are. And I get far too much credit for the work that people have done. Of course, I get a lot of the criticism too, but that comes with the game. The nature of things not only opened my eyes by the breadth of issues that we covered to all of the variety of problems we face, and it gave me an idea of the underlying notion of deep ecology. But for me, it was priceless in that the series introduced me to people. After the series ran, I was still engaged. We did a show on the Amazon. Nancy did a 2-hour special on the Amazon. And after the show ran, I ended up working in the Amazon with the native people there for years later. Same thing in Haida Gwaii and in Quebec with the Quebec Cree. Over and over again, I became involved in issues because of the nature of things and ultimately set up an environmental organization. Let me end by saying that we live in a time when the most powerful force shaping our lives today is not what you think from the media. It's not politics, it's not business, it's not sports or celebrity, it's science. Science when applied by industry, medicine, and the military. And if the nature of things was important in covering these issues over the last 50 years, I can't imagine a series that will be more important in the coming 50 years. Because we're going to hit the most critical issue of our time, which is energy. We're coming to grips with the reality of peak oil, that we're now extracting extreme oil, that there are enormous costs with fossil fuels and nuclear energy, and that we've got to go to renewable. We've got to find that the economy and the ecology are not separate, that the economy depends on what we learn from ecology. Climate change is going to influence our children and grandchildren as far as we can see into the future. We have a crisis of cities, which can become an opportunity as we confront sprawl and pollution. In medicine, stem cells, genetic engineering, pharmacology will become more and more a part of our health costs and our health hopes. Food, where we get it and how we grow it, will be important. And health, with obesity and aging. The oceans are a mess. I could go on and on. If the nature of things was important over the last 50 years, I can assure you it will be doubly important in the coming years. So thank you very much for supporting me.
Dr. Suzuki.